Hi everyone, welcome to Stream Queen Con 3 Trans Panel. Um, Today's purpose and goal for our trans panel is to, I guess, inform you, educate you, open your minds a little bit on all things transness, and get to know each other a little bit. So I'll start. I'm throwing a shade. I am from Canada. I just turned 30 a few weeks ago, so yay. And I stream on Twitch. I have been streaming on Twitch for about 3 years, loving it and having a great time. And so we'll do a quick round of introductions, starting with, I believe, Jesse, who is at my top left.
Hi, I'm Jesse. My pronouns are they, them. I am 31 years old. I am from Thunder Bay, Ontario. I'm in Canada as well. And I don't do a lot of streamings, but I love to do panels and education. So I'm happy to be here.
Thank you. And next we have Mia.
Hi, my name is Mia Easylay. My pronouns are she, her. I'm from the New England area, and I'm a full-time drag artist and mother.
Thank you, Mia. And now we have Chalora.
Hi, my name's Flora. Some people know me by Throna or maybe Caricature. I don't. Are we all doing an age? I'm younger than Throna, but
How old do you think you are?
only as old as I feel. 87. My pronouns are she, they.
Thank you, Chalora. And now we have Nemesis.
Hi, everybody. I am Nemesis. I run the network on Twitch basically every day of the week. I do a lot of retro gaming. My pronouns are she, her. I'm not going to disclose my age, but hi, happy to see you. And I'm from the East Coast. And yeah, this year I really discovered my transness, and I'm happy to be part of this panel.
Yay. All right, so excited. All right. So just to jump right into it, we're going to start off with asking, how did you come into your transness? Was there some kind of trans awakening, or was it rather lifelong and you just knew your entire life? And I've got a follow-up question for that afterwards, but we'll start off with that first, and we'll start with Jesse.
I wouldn't say it was lifelong for myself. I mean, I call myself like a late bloomer, but I'm not that old. So I was 24 years old. I think drag really helped me express my gender and really find myself in, what I wanted to wear, what I wanted to look like. But it was actually more of a dysphoria of my chest. And, sitting there and thinking, well, I don't want what I have, but I'm a girl, so I have to, and I don't want to be a boy. So like, how do I go about this? So it was really that struggle with how I looked, and again, mostly my chest that had me just kind of thinking about identity, and then finding more language that would best fit. First, I think I used androgynous. And now I just identify as trans masculine. So I'm like fairly on the masculine side, but I never really, being a man was never something I really felt. Looking back, I think, there were things in my life that could have pointed that this is where things were going, but it was honestly never something I thought about. As soon as I was out, I pretty much came out. But yeah, it was something that happened later in life when I had the language for it and when I had people around me that were, supportive of it.
Perfect. Thank you. Thank you for the sharing. And Mia?
I think that it's just kind of been like a very long journey where it's like, if we go back to like childhood, like the killer's always been in the house. You know what I mean? Like, it's kind of like there's never been like an awakening where like I tripped and like hit my knee and then it was like, oh, I'm definitely not like cis. You know what I mean? It's not like there's no specific moment or anything I can think of. I think it's just been like an ongoing development of like discovering myself. And also just like, I mean, I've always identified as queer and I always just knew that I wasn't like other people. But I think that like what really like kind of set in stone for also at least when I was younger, like back in a long time ago, um, when I realized that I wasn't just like everybody else, it was a lot of like, oh, then you're a homosexual. So like the only thing I knew of was like gay, straight, bi. So
Yeah.
everything was sexuality. Nobody talked about gender identity. So it was like something I just didn't understand
Yeah.
until like even later in life, because just like in my youth, I was just like, okay, I'm just the gay kid. And so it was more of my sexual it was more of like what I was sexually attracted to and like sexual expression compared to my gender identity and my gender expression was a lot
Yeah.
of the was a lot more of what got taken care of or talked about.
Okay. Love that. Yeah, I find like I don't know personally, like for me, I would say there's the reason I asked it that way is if you just all of a sudden had an awakening or if it was lifelong. Like I feel like for most of the time people kind of gravitate to a lifelong type of thing of indicators, I suppose, of like, oh, that was evident or that was evident or this was obvious. But yeah, I totally get that. The whole it's almost as if you get pigeonholed, right? Into being one of the three, homosexual or heterosexual, and there is no gender. At least back then, there was not much gender expression. So, and Shalora,
I'm really similar to Mia in that, like, for me, I was really ignorant to queer terminology and understanding what exactly those things meant and what was acceptable. Um, Growing up, I was extremely queer phobic from how I was brought up. And then, like, discovering that I liked men was like, oh, great. And then, that was a like whole toxic masculine spiral um, of garbage. And meeting more gender diverse people in my mid 20s, I guess. Um, I started to understand things a little bit better and started seeing those things in myself a little more. Um, and so I was identifying as non binary for a little while and just sort of sitting not like I just wasn't as comfortable as I thought I would feel identifying that way just for myself. And something was kind of missing in terms of like the terminology or something just wasn't 100%. And a lot of toxic masculine things were still sort of lingering, like feeling like the whole idea of having like moobs scared me because
yeah,
like it had always scared me. And so like the idea of being comfortable with having breasts was something I had to like figure out and that like obviously now I'm pretty happy with. But it was like hard to get myself there. And I think I told this story a little bit before, but like I was on Twitter and there was like a battle or something going on Deer's page, and I was like, "Fuck those people!" And so I was like typing back to them, and they were like, "Are you even a woman?" And I was like, "Am I a woman?" So so, and so I answered yes. And that was the first time that I had said like confirmed with myself and also just like with this troll. And since then, I was like, can non-binary people be women? Which is yes, they can be, and if they choose. I mean, of course, if they identify. Um, and then once that started, I felt a lot more comfortable over time with being more feminine and identifying more with being a woman or things like that. And then eventually started hormones and just felt really good the whole way through. So.
it's great. I like that. The non-binary thing is definitely something I can relate to personally, and I feel like a lot of trans people kind of gravitate to that at first, maybe.
Mhm.
Um, but I love that there's like a middle ground, and if you're non-binary and that's where you land, then that's great. Like, you know, the idea that as we move along with, I guess the year 2000s, we're going into 2023 real soon here. The further we go in, the more things become a little clearer step by step. So feels like we belong a little more.
Mm.
I'm really enjoying that. And we have Nemesis to touch on the subject.
Hi. I will be honest with you. I am just really coming into my transness and just starting to identify as trans. And I think there's something so beautiful about the journey we go on in identifying ourselves, and that gender is its own journey. It's like a spectrum. There's so many ways to identify, and it's still evolving for people, and it can still evolve. You don't have to you don't have to identify as trans and then stop there. Like, you can keep going, moving. It's your journey for yourself. So I will be honest with you, being this panel, I was a little nervous to join because I definitely do identify as trans, because I did have that moment of, am I a woman? Am I valid? Am I trans enough? And I still kind of have that sometimes. I think people do have dysphoria. I think it's something we can talk about. It's a horrible thing. I hate it, but it's also, in a way, I guess it can kind of help you like really figure out what's going on with like how you identify. Cause like, if I didn't have those bad days of dysphoria, I'm like, well, I wouldn't think that I'm a woman, or I wouldn't think that I'm trans enough, I guess, if that makes sense. But I still think like the verbiage and stuff, like growing up was hard. I really didn't have any words to explain it. I would grow out my hair like to be like super long and red. People would make fun of me. And I still, even to this day, I have issues like doing that, because I just feel like the whole thing of transphobia across the world is still at a very bad place. Like, we can say it's great, but it's in theory really not. There's a lot of transphobia still happening. But yeah, I would say I don't think it was like a this is I'm trans, but a really like epiphany that I had, and I'm ranting here, but was when I stopped like appeasing men. Like, just stop appeasing like a partner, stop appeasing somebody that you want to be in love with. Like, when you're in love with yourself and you're not like trying to like pose masculine or like pose a certain way or pretending to be someone you're not, like, that's when I was like, oh wow, I really have been this trans person locked inside because I have to appease an audience or appease somebody else. So like, that's really when I was like, oh my God, like, oh shit, like, why am I doing this for somebody?
Hmm.
That's great. It's a great share. And so with the topic of like coming into or a lifelong, I guess with I guess my personal experience with it is I had a bit of both, because like I remember, I think it was 3-4 years ago, I created a list of like reasons why I might be trans, and I'd list things like I used to wear heels when I was a kid, I used to dress up, I used to play with Barbies, and I always remember there was like a two sides to it, like a double-edged sword almost, of like I would play with the Barbies and I loved the Barbies, but I would overmasculate it by like making them do like army stuff, or like they'd be fighting each other or something as like a cover up, you know what I mean? Um, and then like obviously like Mia was saying earlier was that like it was easier for me to just jump into identifying as gay or relating to that more or less, because it was what was known. Like, there was not much else to get into, and it was pretty much like, I wouldn't say, if you threw me back to when I was like 18 and younger and stuff like that, and you asked me, are you trans, I probably would just say no. Like, there was no way I could have known, I don't think, but there were definitely indicators of it, and it was definitely and like Nemesis was saying, growing out your hair and like trying out new things and trying to like feel comfortable with yourself, and just starting to love yourself. I remember I grew out my hair very long, and then people like had opinions about it, and then I shaved it bald, and I went through these phases just trying to like
Yeah.
find myself. And like that bald moment, that Britney moment was not it. But
No.
and so then I started getting into drag, and that's when it started like really clicking for me. Was the, I suppose, sorrow I felt taking it all off, and there was a lot of unpacking to do with that. Like, why do I feel so sad after a drag show or after doing a drag whatever appearance of some sort? Really came into it in 2019, is when I was like, screw it all. I literally cut and run. I moved away from the city I was in, went to a new city, and I was running away from my problems, only to get brought back to the same city I was before because I was like, I'm trans. This is it. I figured it out. I'm going back to the city where I have support and friends and familiarity to be able to comfortably and safely transition because I didn't want to be in some random place. And so on that topic, when it comes to, I suppose, coming out or finding support, anybody can chime in on this one, is how did you go about finding support? Like transitioning and or coming into your transness, I suppose, is not easy. And a lot of people, I believe, do it alone. They don't have those support systems. But what did you do in order to find that support from either family members, friends, community?
I think being part of the community already, and a lot of you touch on it too, in terms of sexuality, kind of, I know coming out as trans or any part of the gender diverse community, in some respects is harder, like it's less accepted. But I'd already filtered out quite a few people in my life and already surrounded myself with quite a good support system. I would consider myself lucky. I work a lot with trans youth, and I did keep most of my family and most of my friends. So I think, as much as going through the coming out in terms of being a lesbian or gay, I always like that word better for myself. It really did allow some time for me to surround myself with the right people for my trans coming out.
Mm-hmm.
For myself, I feel like if I had come out any less than I already did to my family, it would have been different because I came out as gay and then I came out as non-binary eventually, and then I was like, well, I'm gonna come out again. And by that point, it was just jokes with my family at that point, which is at least like thankfully I was able to like make jokes with them.
Yeah.
But the first time and the second like was not good. And then the second time I wasn't in the same city, so I just came out via Facebook. And they got mad at me and they were like, well, why didn't you just come talk to us? And it's like, I don't know, because you got fucking mad the first time. Uh, but I wouldn't really say that they're like a support system. They don't ask questions. They don't help me do research. They don't check in on me in terms of um, transness and like identity and expression and things like that. Um, Thankfully, they've embraced it, but I wouldn't say that's the same as support and like the kind of safety net that you need.
Mm-hmm.
For me, coming out, thankfully, I had Stream Queens, of course.
Yeah.
For me, that was my safety net. Um, I it sounds kind of selfish, and maybe it is, but I started a little Tuesday thing called Trans Talks in our private Discord. And I was like, if you want to talk about trans stuff, let's go. Like, I would like some help, and anyone else who might want that, or wants to just talk about it in general and build some community, like, let's go do that. And so we talked about, medication. We talked about experiences. We talked about what changes and what doesn't. We talked about everything under the sun. And it really does help to get the firsthand experience of other trans people. And it's nice to know what kind of community is already there that will support you when things happen, because even in the queer community, there are transphobic people, and there are transphobic people that don't realize that they're necessarily transphobic, or that the things that they say could be considered transphobic, or the behavior or whatever. So it can be difficult to gauge if you have a safe enough space or not sometimes.
Yeah.
I think like also to add on to what you're saying, Chalora, do you know what the worst one is? Is a transphobic trans person.
Yeah, literally.
One of my favorites. I guess my biggest support system and everything that I have is probably like my drag kids and my drag family, and then obviously like my Twitch community. But like I never had, I'm trying to say this the right way, so if I mess it up, like someone just please help me. I never had a coming out. Like Shalora, how you said like you had a coming out and then a coming out and a coming out. Like when I was like 15, I had the I'm gay moment. Um, but as I've gotten older and I've kind of just like I'm just very like I don't want to say set in my ways because it's not like I have like a bad like bigoted view. It's just my personal view is like any like terminology or like descriptions, etc., are just there for other people unless you want them to be there for yourself. So, um, in the kindest manner ever, I don't give up what anybody thinks of me. And I don't think anything about my identity is your business unless I feel like talking about it.
Right.
So I haven't had a coming out other than like I brought up to a friend and I said, I think my gender identity is a lot more question mark than what we thought it was, you know? And then I kind of just did everything like behind the scenes or just talking to like friends. But like I haven't had a coming out. And then I'll have people come up to me and be like, oh, we heard that you're, you know, on meds. Congratulations. And I'm like, I didn't tell a fucking soul. Like, how do
Oh
you people
no.
know? You know what I mean? I'm like, that's just my business, but okay.
Yeah.
But like, I mean, my kids are big for support. And then as far as like my biological family goes, I'm good. Like, I don't want to have a coming out with them. Like my dad asked me what pronouns I want to use, and I was like, whatever you want to, I don't care. Cause like it's my
Yeah.
father. I don't really care what he does. And he's been very open about my gender expression my entire life. So it's just nice that he asks. You know what I mean? But like I don't have the feeling or the need to like have some big here like I don't need to tell you what my class stats and everything is. Like that's not your business. You didn't unlock that yet.
I want to bounce off that because I'm the same exact way. I'm glad I'm not alone in that, and hearing that from someone else makes me feel so valid and feel like great. Because, like, in my opinion, I've said this on my channel a couple times too, because I use my channel as like my community and my support system as we're talking about support systems. And if I didn't have Twitch, I don't know what I would be doing right now, because I don't think I would be the trans person I am today, because it is really like an escapism to like just really like live my like life as I want to be living outside, but I can't because I live in the coldest area. I'm not in LA living it up. Like I want to, but yeah, like I don't think it's really like in the nicest way possible for me, like the coming out thing, it's just not really like anyone's business. Like I'm on my own journey and I'm full main character. Like I am the main character. Like it's my story. Like I do not need to share what I don't want to share. But if you do ask me, I will obviously inform you. But I'm not gonna make like a Facebook long post for my family members because I'm good. Like I know they're gonna just keep misgendering me. I know they're gonna keep doing that, and I know people are gonna be ignorant. So I honestly just don't waste my breath sometimes. But like when it's the right appropriate situations, I will like appropriate like today, like we're talking on a trans panel. Like obviously I'm gonna speak loudly about how like love being trans, but I'm not I'm good about the coming out thing. I just don't
I
think it's like
I save the energy for the time you need it.
right.
Do you know what I
Totally.
mean? I
Yes.
like I'm not gonna put sprinkles when like I need to do like a whole like you know what I mean? I don't really.
No, exactly. And then those people, they're only asking that question to be like, oh, are you trans? Oh, I want to know because I want to know because I'm selfish because I need to know everything because I want to know the bits and pieces. And I'm like,
Mhm.
you don't really care. You don't support people. You don't support trans people. You're not donating to the funds. You're not going to the shows. You're not going to support any of the trans people. You just want to know my info and my little biddies. Like that's not your
I
business.
I have a lot to
Yeah.
say about that, but I'm gonna wait because I think it's gonna go with something in a
Oh,
little bit.
oh yeah, that's funny that you touched on that because that's our next topic. But to wrap up that question real quick too, it was interesting because like in terms of the support systems and stuff and family members, I remember when I first came out, I didn't talk to my parents, my siblings, or anybody for like months on end, and I deleted all of my family members from Facebook at one point, and I was like. I want to be able to use my Facebook and talk about things and post things without my family being nosy about it.
Mhm.
And I even did like, I remember when I was like comfortable with it, I recorded a little video and posted it on Facebook. I'm like, hey, everybody on my Facebook, if you're still here and you can see this, that means I think that you're probably not transphobic. I could be wrong, but I'm trans. And then like slowly but gradually, I was like, okay, maybe I could use my family in my life. Like maybe I'm like just being overly protective of myself. And um like I would say I count myself lucky on that sense that my family, for the most part, is supportive and accepting. But interestingly enough, I haven't seen them in like 3 years in person. So since my transition, so that is still a mountain that I have yet to overcome. And so yeah, on the topic of I guess what Nemesis was talking about is privacy. So a common misconception people have about trans people is their right to privacy. And what I mean by that is whether it be what treatments they may or may not choose to have, questions about their mental health, their self before transition, during transition, what they're doing, how they identify, and what they are doing to be trans, are like most times we're expected to answer all of these as if it's an obligation to settle somebody else's curiosity. And I guess I kind of just want to get into like why we are not obligated as human beings, individuals, to answer these questions. And I'm sure every one of you have like had all these questions like, what medication are you on? Like, what surgeries are you going to do? Or like, what have you done? Are you going to grow out your hair? Like, uh, that clothing you're wearing, that's not presenting. You know what I mean? Like, so anybody can shoot on that if you want.
I think you touch on it right there. That topic point is a great point to start at because it is really, I don't even know. Like, when I tell you, it's really, I am main character, and I think everybody should be their main character. I think it's such a phenomenon of being oversaturated that people, if you're selfish, it's a bad thing. You need to be selfish in a good way to yourself and like in your journey and your discoveries and like do those things that really help you out. I don't really have like a long like conversation point about this one because I have already kind of touched on it. But I will say, I really, in terms of like what medication and like presenting and outfits and stuff like that, I am one of those people that I love my body as it is. And it does not make me any less of a trans individual than anybody else for not modifying my body because I am very comfortable. And also, this is me going off topic a little bit, but like, you have to be so strong and so like you need safety, you need everything to start doing that transition to get to where you want to be. Like I love all my trans people and you are some of the strongest people I know for taking those steps and going out there and even starting to take a like medication, modifying your body, even going outside in the opposing whatever you want to like identify as or whatever it is, but like I can't even do that and it's so scary and it is so, I wish I could, but I do it for the people that don't start their transition loving their body, and it doesn't make us any less of a, I just wanted to say that, like I just really wanted to say that I do it for the people that they don't look like very gorgeous out of bed. Like I am an ugly girl when I roll out of bed in my sweatpants and my hoodies, and I want to stay that way. And I love my body, and I'm gonna stay that way. And that's just how I want to live my life. But I do it for those people. And if anybody else can like love themselves like that, then I'm glad I can do my part.
Yeah, I mean, if I can piggyback off what you said, like body parts are like degender body parts. Like
Right.
I've said this to a few people and they seem to get confused, and that's I understand because like we've been brainwashed into this idea over time. But like I've told people like, a woman's penis or a man's vagina, and they're like, what? Like it just like blows their mind. And I'm like, it doesn't matter whose pieces are what, like, or if they aren't even a man or a woman, like who cares? Like short hair, long hair, it's hair.
Right.
Nice clothes, big clothes, small clothes, whatever. They're just clothes. Why does it matter?
Right.
Like realistically, it's just something you put on your body to cover yourself up because we're not supposed to be naked in public, which is also a big whatever. Like free the nipple, but like, like it's just like, come on, everybody. Like,
And can I'm sorry. I also want to mention that it boggles my mind to this day that we are still being like, oh my God, if you're born with this body part, you're a certain gender. And then people will like openly discuss it. And like, even at like queer places, people will still be ignorant to that and like make jokes on body parts. Like everybody's bodies are beautiful. And also people's body parts and genitalia are none of your business besides the person who you are talking about. Like, don't do all that. Like, it's really none of your business.
I have a few things to say if that's okay.
No, yeah,
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I just get very
No, you're
passionate.
fine. I think I have my biggest issue with everything going on is the privacy stuff for me. So it's like first and foremost, there's two big situations. If it's an individual who's like questioning themselves and they look up to you or etc. Like my friend Mel reached out to me and they said, I think I might, I think the killer's in the house. Can I talk to you? That's a completely different situation. But
Right.
like I I work so hard to get all of this stuff done and to like just make my like the amount of like work I do outside of Twitch and in Twitch to do my art is insane. And then like I'll get interviewed and somebody will be like, and I'll be like, oh, they're gonna want to talk about this big benefit I did or this event I did or how I upped the pay for all entertainers in the state or like all these wonderful things that I've done. And they'll be like, so you identify under the trans umbrella? And I'm like, yeah, and next question. And they're like,
It's reductive.
what medications are you on? Like, and I'm literally sitting there like, okay, I just ran an 8-hour like charity event where we raised this much money. I literally created new spaces and new this, and all you're asking about is my gender identity, because I just feel like sometimes it's a situation where either they see it's like angry eyes or money symbols.
Yeah.
And like that's my big problem with that, is that it's just so stupid. It's none of your business. It's like I said earlier, like I didn't want to have a coming out because a regular everyday average Joe never went out and was like, Mom, Dad, I like women. Like that's not you know what I mean? So I don't need to do it either.
Hmm.
So with privacy and that, and it's like I said, if it's somebody who wants to, like learn or be there, I don't mind. That's one thing if you're questioning yourself, but it's just if you're not in the circle and you're just trying to find out information because you just like to know things about people and it's like a selfish reason, do you know what I mean? Like I feel like it's rubbernecking at a car crash. I don't need to know what happened at the car crash. Like those people need to be safe and taken care of.
Google is free.
Like, do you know what? Yeah, kinda. And it just drives me nuts. And I just also like, even on the aspect of like people will be like, what's your transition like, and all this other stuff, and blah blah blah. If you want to know what medications I'm on, you can send me $20 on Venmo, and I'll tell you what medications I'm on. But my time is money, and my time is not
Exactly.
free. So send me $20, and I'll tell you the exact meds I'm on. I don't care. But like, it's just that everybody expects you to answer all these questions for free, and eventually your patience just wears thin.
Totally.
Yeah, you talked about like, well, all of you did, kind of like the selfishness of people. I always like, I do a lot of education, and I'll kind of get into that in a second, but I always say if you're curious, like if it's just curiosity, then it's not the right question. Like, and if you're not willing to answer those same questions for yourself, or if like you wouldn't like somebody to ask that to you, which people are like, well, why would they? Well, I mean, we're people too, and I think that's fair. And around the body parts, like that's where, it can be harder it can be harder for anyone to come to their transness or explore their gender identity. But when I'm working with youth, like, I mean, yeah, there's binary trans people, and that's fine. And there's people who do want to be super masculine or do want to be super feminine, but they think they have to, because that's what people, tell them they have to do, because, these specific characteristics and body parts are attributed to certain people. And if you really want to be a man, like, this is what you need to do. And I mean, as somebody who looks fairly masculine, like, I don't believe that at all. Like, I think, if you want just hormones, if you want no hormones, if you want hormones and surgery, fine. Like, it doesn't matter, but make sure that that's something that you want and not somebody else.
May I complain about one thing too?
Yeah.
I don't want to interrupt you though. You can still keep going.
No, it's okay. Go for it. I can jump in after.
Someone said something about body parts earlier too, about how like certain body parts equal certain things, and we talked about that a little bit. I literally had another, like, I had a trans entertainer come up to me the other day who I have not talked to in years, and she came up to me and was like so sisterly and was like, I heard this, Mia, and if you need to talk or whatever, I'm always here. And I'm like, oh, this is really nice. And then she's like, and if you want to talk about like, stuff before you get your boob surgery and this, that. And I was like, I never said I was getting boob surgery.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
And
It's
I
the
was like,
presumption. Yeah.
But you have to if you want to be feminine, right? Like,
Yeah.
completely not serious.
I think that's
Jesus.
the worst thing, unfortunately, and I've experienced it a few times in my transness, is the people who kind of push the agenda more so are other trans people. I've noticed. Not all
Sometimes.
trans people. Like, I've had so many trans people literally interrogate me. What meds are you on? When are you getting this surgery? When are you getting that surgery? Like, how long have you been growing out your hair? When did you come out?
like,
And
you need
like,
to beat the trans game as fast as possible.
yeah,
Right.
and
Are you as trans as me?
Yeah.
Right?
exactly. My very first time meeting somebody who was trans, it was exactly that. We went for coffee, we sat down and we had our coffee, and it was an interrogation. And like, not to be graphic or anything, but she asked me when I was getting my top surgery and how I was developing on my chest after my medication. And I was like, that's a very forward question. And I swear to God, she's like, oh, well, I've been on my meds for this long and it's been great. And I kid you not, she popped her chest out and she's like, look at mine. And I was like, is this happening right now? I was like, if this isn't a move to say that you're more trans than me of some sort, or I don't know. I was like, I was confused at first, but then I was angry because I was like, that's not okay. But anyway, it's a bit of a shocker on that story. But we have a few moments left, and we have one more topic to touch on, just to keep on time. So our third topic here is, I think it's an interesting one and an important one, is media. So as we dive deeper into the 2000s, trans representation is becoming more prominent within television, movies, video games, social media, etc. Do you find this media representation is good for our community? And keeping in mind we have representation, like bigger representation among media, like Elliot Page, Nikita Dragon, Caitlyn Jenner, etc.
I think it is that we're more visible. I think it's good for the community to be able to see the community. It makes them feel less alone. But as you kind of said earlier, some of the worst people in some respects can sometimes be trans people. And I mean, put it right out there, I'm not a huge fan of Caitlyn Jenner. I think that's the nicest way I could have said that. But like,
Yeah.
some people, there's transphobia, like internalized transphobia that just like, I mean, it sucks for the person, but it sucks for the other trans people too. When that's somebody who thinks being a woman needs to look a certain way and even rethought their sexuality because they don't quite agree with same-sex relation. Like, I can't agree with anything that comes out of that person's mouth besides the fact that she's a great athlete, or at least was.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think with everything, it's going to be better and it's going to be worse. I think one of the worst parts is the fact that there's always comments, as opposed to the media, and we see a lot of hate there. And I think that's where I'll start and let other people jump in.
Yeah, and just to preface it, like, I guess the way I've seen it is that, like, I find that the representation we get in media is like these beautiful looking people, or these people who have access to get whatever they want and do whatever they want. And it kind of creates this weird false expectation for your day-to-day trans person who doesn't necessarily have that privilege. Because I mean, I was trying to look over statistics and stuff a little bit, but for the most part, trans people don't have it easy, like what is represented in media.
We have an androgynous phase, whether we're, non-binary, trans masculine, a trans woman. Like, we have if you're going to, you know, change your body, change your hair, change anything, there's somewhat of a process, of a journey, just like there is into coming into your identity. And some people who are very well off can disappear and come back a completely different person in a very, very short amount of time.
In that respect, I think that it's like really important that like in terms of media that trans people are more diverse than we see usually on the media. Like, you know, they're just there they are, they're done. You know, it's just sort of it doesn't show us a lot, or like a lot of times it's like here is man, now here is woman. And it's just like there's no transition period. Or like I know like in older media, um, they'll just show sort of like a woman who's not very feminine with a beard or like a little bit of facial hair, and it was usually at the butt of a joke, but or like to be offensive, and it's like I don't know, like there are women out there like that, or anybody like that. Like they're just people. And um, on the flip side, though, like I do want to see trans people in media, and just I don't know. I think it would be like nice to live in a world where like anybody can just be anybody, and it wouldn't have to matter. But unfortunately, right now it does matter a lot. Like if I see a TV show or a video game or something, and there's a trans character, it brings me joy. I like to see myself represented. But it would be nice if like people could just be people and we didn't have to care about it, and it just didn't matter. Like we could just have, you know, a trans person on a TV show and they're just them. Like it doesn't have to matter.
Mm-hmm.
I will say, I think the media has a long way to come for, I mean, it's pretty obvious. Like, there's definitely a journey that media has to come by. Like, I honestly, I think I got this question about like a week ago, and I was trying to think of like video game characters, or anybody that I could really like see myself represented as. And I really can't say I have, besides maybe one person, and that's probably Poison from Street Fighter. And that's like probably the closest I can get, because in my like I love seeing powerful women, not to get graphic, but with a penis. Like I love just like we need more like trans women at beaches with bulges. Like I want to celebrate that. Like women can do that, trans women can do that. And it I don't see, like I think there was an article about like a couple months ago that needs to happen, and it was from Chicago trans reps, and like just like trying to break down the norms of like what we see. And it honestly has kind of a way to go, but that's just for me. Like that's just my like seeing myself in the media. I know that we kind of touched upon like the the media has very femme trans women and then very masculine trans men, and that's kind of like the extent of what they do. For me, I literally just want to be like a tomboy trans girl, whatever you want to call that, I guess masculine, like breaking down that, whatever it is. But like I just want to be in a beanie and a hoodie and like just like super like, and I don't see that a lot in the media. And I don't even see like a lot of like, I'm a big fan of like wrestling, and there's only one trans woman that I know that does wrestling, and that is like the closest I can get to representation. And like even that, they put her in like dark matches. They don't put her on TV a lot. They don't utilize her. They make her the joke. And I'm like, take my girl seriously. Like I love seeing like people in my like everybody has their niche, right? Like Mia has Pokemon, like Chalora has the looking at houses on Zillow on stream.
What am I gonna say?
But like mine's wrestling, and I don't see a lot of that. So I guess we have a long way to come. I would love to be a girl boss, a girl cock, wrestler, masculine, trans woman. Like that is so niche, but I think it's so we definitely have a long way to go.
I think
Sorry.
it's true. We have a lot to go forward. George, I didn't talk over someone. I'm sorry.
I just wanted to say something really quick, if that's
Oh, go ahead.
but and not to throw this person out from yesterday, but someone in the chat yesterday was talking about the masculine presenting feminine or female characters in Pokemon, in Pokemon Violet and Scarlet. You know what I'm talking about, right, Mia?
Oh
Yeah.
God, yeah.
And they were saying those are trans men, and I was like, No, they're women with. I mean, they could be trans men, sure, but like we shouldn't assume that they're all trans men. Like
Everybody be
Mhm.
assuming.
some of them could just be masculine women. Like just let people be people. Like I just. And so I would like to see more diverse types of trans people, because we could have like I don't know, femme gay men and mask gay or trans women. Did I say gay? Whatever.
Yeah.
You know what I meant.
Yes.
I I think that like I think that it's important for I mean, yeah, of course we have a long way to go. Of course everything could be better. You know what I mean? Like um but I think the important thing is that making sure that there is trans representation in the media. Is it always going to be the best? No, but like media is not the best. Media is terrible.
Right.
But like I think it's like no matter also I think it's everywhere from the smallest moment to the biggest thing of the things that you're going to remember the most and what are going to make you as a person. And even if it's just for a second and you just find out that this person is gender nonconforming, everything from like the things that just come to my mind is I literally just remember seeing the You Spin Me Right Round video with Pete Burns. And I was like, who is this effeminate, ethereal being? You know, all the way to I don't even know what the show was. I wasn't even watching it. I walked through the living room and I heard somebody say that they were like, I identify as a woman, and it was Alexis Arquette. And I just remember that as a kid, like seeing that on TV as a child, that like somebody was like, I'm not a boy. And I was like, you know, little kid brain, you don't know about that because all mommy and daddy talk about is Jesus. Like,
Mhm.
so and then like, you know, even to like the aspect of like there was like a drag entertainer in my area. And yeah, she's not big in the media, but she was big around the area. And then like literally like the week before she passed, she was like, I just want everyone to know before I go, I'm a woman and I've been afraid to tell everybody, but I'd rather be true and this is my name. And then she kicked. You know what I mean? So I think it's like you think like, okay, well, how much easier it would have been for her if there was more representation, and how it was easier for me just even just hearing walking through the living room someone saying I'm not a boy. Do you know what I mean?
I think so, yeah.
I was like,
Just
Kelly,
I've been saying yeah and like replying to everybody this whole time, so I'm trying to.
Oh, you're fine. I think it's just important to have some sort of like the more you can see it, the more it'll the like maybe it'll have an impact on somebody, even if it's the smallest thing.
Mhm.
Yeah. So I think we're wrapping up with the last 10 minutes of our panel, but we did have an open Q&A. So if anybody has any questions of any sort, we received a few. We'll start with this one. Everybody can kind of chime in on this one. I'm Rio Bop asked, what gives you gender euphoria? Now feel free to give one, maybe two examples. While you think about it, I'll give you some time to think about it. For me, I two things that come to mind straight away is I remember one time I walked into a burrito restaurant. My hair was a mess. I didn't wear makeup and I was wearing this long cardigan and just looked trashy, in my opinion. I just wanted my burrito. And I was wearing a mask and the lady behind the counter was like, "Did you want anything else, ma'am?" And I was like, "Did she just call me ma'am? Oh my God." Like I was just like so like overwhelmed by it because like it feels like it took away the pressure of constantly having to present as femme and do my makeup, you know. So that was one moment. And I guess the other thing is, so personally for myself, I decided to do medical transition stuff like that. And my chest started developing, and literally walking by that mirror and seeing, you know, that silhouette is just like an overwhelming feeling for me of just like, I don't know what hormone that is or whatever brain happy hormone, but all of it, all of it.
Can I bounce off that? That happened to me one time, and this might sound a little inappropriate, but I love when people misgender me the right way. Like, I love when people misgender me as a woman. Like, I love it so much. I was at the airport one time, and I looked a mess. Like, it was like I think I was flying from
One time.
one time from Boston. I think it was TwitchCon weekend. I flew in and I was talking to this lady. I was like, "Hi, can you help?" And then she like said, "Oh, hi, ma'am." And then I turned around and then she saw my face like scruff and everything, and she's like, "Oh," and I was like, "No, no, 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 no. You're." It was a nice little. I enjoyed it for the second that it happened, but like I was just like, "Oh my God, ma'am, thank you so much." But I love when that happens.
Should I go or did you want to go now? Or was
I
that
have nothing else to say.
okay? For me, it would be my hair. I don't know, I love it so much. I've been wanting to grow out my hair for such a long time, and I felt like I couldn't when I was young. And so, like, I don't know, just being able to wake up and just like it's there, and it's just like it just gives me my good feelings of femininity, which it's not to say that short hair isn't feminine or anything like that. It's just for me personally. And also, I I got a lot of euphoria out of feeling a lump in my breast and having to go get a mammogram. That was really fun, which seems really bizarre, but y'all go get your mammograms. But just something that is like, you know, specifically uh, not something that I would normally have to do with the gender that I was assigned at birth, um, that I got to do that just sort of like made me feel more like a woman, I guess. It wasn't cancer.
I love my hair too.
I love your hair.
Thank you. I think it's just like little acts of kindness. Like I love when people like I think it's the little things too. Like I love my hair. I love when I put on nails. I feel so gender euphoric. I love when I wear makeup, when I look all pretty. That's why I do makeup so much. I like compliments. I like when people use like femme compliments, like calling me a pretty princess or something stupid. I don't know. I just like it's so I eat that shit up.
I'll make it quick, but I think as somebody who's somewhere under the non-binary umbrella, like euphoria can be hard to come by. Like, yeah, I'm happy I have short hair and it works. I'm happy I grew facial hair. But all I get is misgendering and like constantly. Like, I'm glad I look masculine, but I mean, when people call me a man, people call me sir, I usually, you know, on the phone somehow I get ma'am, and then you see me in person, they call me sir, and I'm like, neither of them really feel that great. One's a little bit worse, but I mean, that's just the reality of gender expression and not being identifying as one of the two binary genders. Not to be downer, but
My gender euphoric moment was after I had a BVL.
Period.
Perfect. Well, we got 4 minutes left, so I guess we can do a little outro. And so if you wanted to get any final thoughts in, anything else that you might think is important for anybody to know out there regarding transness or anything, social media, plugins.
Can I say one thing before we do outros?
No.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, let's listen to trans voices and not make a trans panel about you. Let's enjoy the 5 beautiful people on your screen and enjoy them respectfully and ask nice questions. And now we will start our outros. Thank you so much. Then Mrs. LaCroix out.
Especially when they stop the panel that they're participating in to give you a resource for free.
Exactly. Anyone
What'd you
like to
say?
start?
Anyway, I'll go first. Hi, my name's Flora. My pronouns are she, they. I'm a trans non-binary woman, drag artist, member of Team Stream Queens. You can find me on twitch.tv/Flora. You can also find me on youtube.com/@Flora, where I post every Tuesday and Thursday. And degender clothes, degender genitals. That's it, that's all.
I'll go. Hi, everyone. I'm Nemesis. I'm very sexy and trans and very loud and very, very cool and hang out on my Twitch channel, Nemesis Network, like almost 7 days a week. I look pretty. I like compliments. I like money. I like subscriptions. Come to my channel, play video games. I do have the Indie Game Showcase tomorrow at around 7 to 8 o'clock Eastern time. So please come out to that. I am so excited to show that off with Kiyoshi, Caricature, and Shlora. So be out there. And if you want to support some trans people, come to that. If you like trans people that much, you should. But, you know, but yeah, follow me everywhere. Nemesis LaCroix everywhere. Nemesis Network on Twitch.
I'll go. Hi, my name is Mia Easylay. I am a Pokemon streamer, icon, legend, and a disappointment to my parents. I usually basically play Pokemon. I shiny hunt. I know a lot about it. So if you want to find me on Twitch, it's not that hard. It's easy to find. And the last thing is, as always, don't forget that you look stunning today, and don't let anyone tell you otherwise. And my last other thing is, I'm single and I have a BBL.
Exactly.
Anyone?
I'm Jesse Bogacki. My pronouns are they, them. I live a pretty boring life with my fitness job and with my wife and my small child. You can't find me on any of those things that you just mentioned. But I do have Instagram, Bojax29. If you do want to ask inappropriate questions or get some more education, you can go to Rainbow Collective of Thunder Bay, and I can do an education session on anything, and I actually will answer anything. Although I still think privacy for us is very important. That is the only time where that kind of stuff is okay. And so far, I haven't gotten a question I won't answer. So, Rainbow Collective of Thunder Bay, for your education needs.
Thank you so much, everyone. And just to outro myself, hi, I'm Throwing Shade. This was my first time moderating a panel, so I hope I did well. I hope I did good.
You did.
And quickly, my transis and my drag, I've been struggling to kind of like interchange them a little bit, and I've actually been away from drag for like 6 months now. So this is my first time in drag in 6 months, and it's a big thing for me. So I'm glad that I was able to do it, and I'm happy that I got around to it. And like quick shout out to my boyfriend, who is my biggest supporter and supported my anxiety through all of this and really encouraged me to push through and do good by the panel. So thanks. And you can find me at twitch.tv/Throwing Shade anywhere else, Instagram, Twitter, all that stuff. And yeah, thank you everybody for tuning in to String Queens Con 3, Trans Panel 3. I hope you all enjoyed it. Okay, everybody say goodbye all at once. Bye.